It can happen today and tomorrow. There's a 5% chance, while today's predicted rain, there's a 5% chance that that could happen. Literally, that's what that language means. Okay, so there's some solutions. The red line there represents a aluminium flashing element. Why don't you just turn that flashing up? Because the main failure point is actually there, through those seals. So it goes between the seals and that waterproofing element that was originally designed. Once it's in between there, it's going to enter the building line. Yeah. That's the main failure point. If you turn it up and turn it down, like I've shown there, so that Z shape, if you want to call it that, even if that rubber seal fails, the humidity and the solar exposure in this part of the world will cause that to fail. Yeah. If you do that, you've non-chemically, just by a passive design, stopped the water from coming in. Even if you remove the rubber seals, water is not going to enter the building. Simple. Or better still, what if you do that? Remember a face brick? I know very few people build a face brick, eh? The first, or not the first, but Craig's building was face brick, the one in Maritime School. But where the face brick meets the lowest cost of the face brick with the weep holes, you all know what I'm talking about? And the gap in between. When it meets concrete, that's what you should be doing. I know engineers don't like it, but we do it often. Half my cap is an engineering cap. So I do engineering also. Engineers hate this, but it's possible. Very possible. Again, you've basically stopped the water from coming in at the worst spot. I'm not saying at the joint above. That joint above should be rated under 613, SAN 613. It's this joint that is the problem. Okay. Next problem. A building that when you stand out on the balcony here that you can actually see. I'm not going to name the building now. The designer might be there. I don't encrypt it too much. I don't encrypt the building too much. Or put it there. But a building that you can actually see here, a relatively young building, it's not too old, has this problem. And there's restaurants down at the bottom. That's kind of okay. It's got coverings over, but open to the side. I was there for 3 days on another thing that I was doing. All 3 days, mild breeze coming up from the ocean. So you stand on the outside and there's a mild breeze and nice cooling, eh? Full bright sunshine, no clouds. Each time I ground pepper over my food, it ended up 3 tables away. That is not a natural problem. That problem is actually caused by pedestrian wind, excessive pedestrian wind that is caused by the building. SANS doesn't have a standard, nor does the NVR have a standard for a thing called pedestrian wind studies. SANS has a standard for structural wind. Every structural engineer will use that to determine if the building is going to stand. Perfect. What about human comfort? And there's actually an international term for it, it's called pedestrian wind studies. How many of you all here, by show of hands, how many of you all here know of this? Really, 2. How many of you all have walked down one of the lanes that joins West Street and Smith Street? Don't ask me the new names. I know names have changed. Oh, West Street and Smith Street, multiple lanes. How many of you all have walked down there? You walk on the beachfront and it's a nice cooling breeze on a 40-degree day, eh? Perfect. You walk down Smith Street and walk down the next lane and suddenly you are like, whoa, I can't walk. Remember that? That's not because of the force of the wind. That is caused by the building. How do we solve that problem? Here in Durban, along the whole coast, it's a major problem. As soon as you have a building, I don't know what the international limit is, but let's just say a 5-story building in an urban environment. Come and speak to me. There's only like 5 people in the country that do it, I think now. We'll do a CFD for you and give you advice on how to solve the problem. That's a study. Computational fluid dynamics. So the only other way to solve or to determine if it's even a problem is to go put it in a wind tunnel. There's only 2 ways to solve the problem. You can do I hope I'm in time. 10 minutes more, okay. There's only 2 ways to solve the problem. Are you going to hire a wind tunnel, build a model, put it into the model and then define what's the problem, or do it? Well, it's actually AI that eventually does it now. Oh, well, a mixture of both. Okay. How many of you all have seen a fairly neat house? No, generally well taken care of. You can see the people that live there. Generally maintain the buildings, but whatever they've done to the door, eventually they paint the door. And the door is only 4 or 5 years old, and it's literally falling apart. Have you all seen that? Anyone? Okay. What's the problem? Why does that happen? It's weathering. And please advise your clients, don't paint it. Paint makes it worse. Timber is a natural material that wants to breathe. As soon as you try to paint or varnish it, can't breathe. Especially if it's exposed to extreme heat because of solar heat gains, solar exposure, cool inside, etc., etc. Also rain. Rain will penetrate the paint or the varnish and get trapped on the inside. What happens then? It's called wood rot. You know what wood rot is? It's actually a type of fungus. Once it attacks the door, it's very hard to actually stop it. So a lot of people say, no, go and paint the door, go varnish the door, or they're designing a new building that's exposed, like that door in the picture, and specify a paint or a varnish on it. Don't ever do that, unless you want the door to fail. Something natural, an oil-based sealer. Guys, you tell the owner, buy a 5-liter linseed oil, and every winter, go and apply linseed oil to it. That's the best thing you can do to the door. It'll last you the next 50 years, maybe even the next 100 years. As soon as you paint it, 5 years later, the door is going to start rotting. Lastly, why don't we just cover the door? Remember that one Salvarenda house? Think of the Zulu rondavo. Both the colonialists and the indigenous had the same idea. Cover the thing. Cover the thing. I'm going to try and rush through because I'm going to allow at least a minute or 2 for Q&A. Stairs. Quick question. Is that stair compliant? 130 riser, 300 tread. Compliant with, it looks like it's compliant with part S. Is it compliant with part M? Quick show of hands, yes? 1. Show of hands, no. I'm going to ask it the opposite way. No one wants to be responsible. There's like 3. Okay, more people said it is compliant. It's actually not compliant. When you take M 4.2.8 into account, actually no one, not even the building inspector knows this. There's a calculation you have to do for every gradient of the stair that you design. Yeah, I got a simple Excel spreadsheet that I do this very quickly on. It's a simple calculation, but it's actually not compliant. It looks like it's compliant. Ergonomically, it fails. That's the problem. It's difficult to walk down the stairs. Oh, one more. Glare. Glare. And this happens mostly in glass buildings. The building I was talking about just now, that you can see from the top here, every room will have glare like this. Glare is actually illegal in terms of ASH Act. So, and that's my photograph, by the way. I used to experience that for more than 10 years. And you'll see there's, wrong button. You will see there's shading elements there, and I still used to suffer with glare. And in terms of health and safety regulations and workplace environment regulations, that's illegal. It's a very small sample of the problems. I can talk the whole day about this, but it's a small section. As you can see, there's a whole lot of other problems which I discussed earlier. I don't know how many minutes I have for Q&A, but literally that's the end of this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vijay.